Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Good to see everyone. It's been a long time since I've done this. It's going to take me a while to get used to everything, but yeah. So, all right. So, as some of y'all are aware of who I am and some are not, I'm JoeHart. I'm I live in Vermont. I'm a person with disabilities, primarily invisible disabilities, and I do a fair amount of a lot of different things, and it's been changing over the last few years. But if I had to say that I wear one hat, first of all, I am disabled. I don't work. I'm on a fixed income, so I have very limited, um, you know, uh, opportunities and options and resources to do, phenomenal online live streaming stuff. But I do fairly well considering how limited my budget is. But so anyway, let's see here. Let's see if I can figure out how to used to do the. I used to have banners and stuff. Nothing's current. It's been years since I've really looked at this stuff. So okay, I currently have a second monitor, and that's where all my web pages that I'm going to try to show during this stream are. So I don't know if I'm gonna be successful at that or not. I do believe, I'm not sure if this is true, but my anxiety is telling me that I did not have a second monitor last time, or rather, I didn't use a second monitor last time. So I'm a little, yeah. Anyway, my invisible disabilities include anxiety. So I see a bunch of stuff. There's a demo screen, and there was an intro video, and lots of new stuff since I've been on here. So, by the way, I don't know how long I'm going to go. I was originally thinking 20 minutes. I'm sure anything I do always takes more than 20 minutes, but I hope to keep it fairly succinct. I want the primary thing to be, which I'm always off topic and there's never really an on topic, but I want the primary stuff to be about all the motorsports that are going on this weekend. It's a pretty action-packed or many multiple motorsports events this weekend. And I don't know if the last few weekends there were way less or they did every other weekend or something, but they all lined up for this weekend. So there's quite a few. But I want to give you some history of what I've been doing and some, that kind of stuff. So, I used to live stream a lot. I probably have been live streaming for, probably, 12 to 14 years. And, I probably, my main beginning was Meerkat, and that was a phenomenal experience. And it's by far the best live streaming app that's ever existed still to this day. And so it was, really good. And, I'm not really into warm and fuzzy stuff and communities and stuff, but Meerkat was a community. And, I was doing, by the way, hello to everybody. Feel free to make a comment. Feel free to let me know where you're watching from. I'm from a lot of different platforms, so it's always good to hear where you're watching me from, or if you have any questions about the motorsports or the WNBA or college basketball, men's and women's, primarily women's. But anyway, so I live streamed for a while, and then and I was mostly doing motorsports. I was mostly NASCAR, and then it branched out INDyCar and IMSA and NHRA, and then on to Formula 1 and FormulaE. And I have preferences. I have opinions about all of them. I have preferences, but so I did that, and then with COVID, it mostly changed because I was in Florida at the time, and there was 4 motorsports events coming up in this upcoming weekend in Florida, and it was 4 different series, INDyCar, IMSA, NASCAR, and so I could pick whichever one I wanted to do, and I was deciding, and I always, I used to, NASCAR used to be 5 days long, so Monday and Tuesday were dark days, like they call them in the theater world. And then they would, and then, of course, sorry about if everything's washed out and stuff. I still have my laptop, and I'm, someday I'll upgrade and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, this was earlier in the week, and there's 4 events, and then on Tuesday, there was talk that one event might cancel, and then by Wednesday morning, one event did cancel. And I'm like, well, I got 3 more to go. And then later that afternoon, the second one canceled, and I was like, well, I still got 2 to go. And then by the end of that night or the beginning of the next morning, they had all canceled. It was the beginning, the actual beginning of the world realizing that COVID was happening. So I was in Florida, and I had been there for a while, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I had no idea if that was going to last for, a day or a week or a month or a decade. I had no idea. And so I'm extreme, so I thought it was going to be, forever. No, I had no idea. But I went, hey, there's a primary going on. And I think it was just kicking off. I think Iowa, kicks off the caucuses, and I think it was in February or March, or I don't know. I forget the exact details, but so I just went from Florida to Iowa to start tracking the United States presidential primaries, and I ended up doing that for. For the 2020 was always everybody's worst year in their life, and it sucked. And I think that really is true for most, but it happened to be one of the most phenomenal events or years that I've ever had. I've never done anything before like that, and I never have done anything like it since. But for the calendar year of 2020, I was on the road for 235 days, and I went to 21 states, and I interviewed every single presidential candidate. And for the people that don't know a whole bunch about politics, the Iowa caucus is very unique. I would highly recommend it to anybody that has this much political interest. I would highly recommend it. And I tried to go 6 weeks early, and I was already, 4 weeks too late. So I would go as many months before as you can. But for that year, I guess that's 2020, for those primaries, the caucuses in Iowa, there were 75 presidential candidates. And it's just the way the caucuses work. It was more extreme in what year? 2020. Yeah, and then it was more extreme in 2024. But anyway, it starts with 75, and then the next state is South Carolina, or one of those, and it goes to like 12 candidates, and then the third or fourth or fifth state, it's down to 4 candidates. So it's no one ever hears about the 75 candidates. But anyway, I'm OCD, so I interviewed all 75 candidates but one, and that was not my choice. That was their choice. I was a peon. I was disabled. I didn't have a job. I was independent, whatever. So, I didn't interview Trump at that time. So I interviewed the other 74 candidates. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about that politics, but it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I'm not that political. I mean, I guess I am. And I knew nothing until I started doing that, and then I became fairly informed, fairly. So anyway, then blah 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 blah. It's all a blur for me. But then I got into somehow I got into WNBA. Of course, Caitlin Clark at Iowa was my interest, and I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. And then she went pro, and I'm like, well, I'll follow her into pro. So I started watching WNBA, and I'm OCD, so I started watching all the games, and I obtained all. They're pretty messed up when it comes to TV channels, but they have like 12 different TV network channels that cover the games. I mean, that's absurd. I mean, every sport is kind of like that. Every sport is kind of a Frankenstein, and they put it together, and you need this app for that. I mean, NASCAR is a joke right now with the CW app, and then the CW won't even show. The CW has a contract for what they do for NASCAR, but then they don't show everything in all the regional. It's absurd. They were showing absurd things like badminton or something, and they wouldn't show the Xfinity race and qualifications and practice, and it was absurd. But anyway, so everybody's kind of doing that stuff, but WNBA was absurd. But anyway, I somehow obtained all the channels, WNBA League Pass and Amazon Prime Video, and just all sorts of things. So I started watching all the games. So I covered WNBA for that year, and then they had the playoffs, and then their season ended, and I'm like, oh no, what am I gonna do? So I started getting involved, and I don't know how and why and stuff, but then I started getting involved into WBB, women's basketball for college, and I also got involved with men's basketball, but that wasn't my interest. My interest was the women. But again, first I started with the AP Top 25. So every Monday they would come up with a new Top 25, and then I would watch all the games that the Top 25 were involved with for that week. And that got a little complicated to try to figure out. Every Monday I couldn't know my schedule until Monday, and then I had to quickly figure it out because there were some games that night, a Monday night. So I did it for 5 or 7 weeks, but then I was like, F this, just watch all the games. So I did a search, and there's a ton. I have the numbers somewhere. I don't have them in front of me, but the first day of the season, there's like something absurd, 193 games. So that's 386 schools. There's some exceptions. Not all of those are schools. The first day of the season, which is kind of a preseason. Some of them are, the Russian national team and, Brazil's national team and stuff. So not all of them is a school against a school, but most of them are. So it's about 386, so there's a ton of schools. Not all of them are on TV, but a lot of them are. So I started doing that every week, and that was phenomenal. And, I got up, I ramp up pretty quickly, but it's still for me, gradual. 1 week I do, 20 games, and then 1 week I do 70 games, and then 1 week I do 120 games, and the highest week that I counted, I probably had higher weeks, but the highest week that I counted was 155 games in a week on TV network. And I have I've always had multiple devices, but most of them are old and breaking down and stuff. But I had multiple larger monitors that could be multi-viewed, so I would have all 100, every single one of the 155 games on live in front of me on a screen for the entire week. So it was pretty intense, pretty overwhelming. I learned a lot. I got overwhelmed a lot. I didn't sleep much, but it was pretty fascinating. And then the season was coming to the end, so I knew nothing. I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky, and I went to University of Louisville, and Louisville Cardinals have won the March Madness, the national championship twice, 1980 and 1986, and I was either in the school or around the school on both those years. It took me a while to get out of college. Anyway, for 1986 team, I'm not extraordinarily smart, and I am disabled. I wasn't officially disabled back then, but I had all the requirements of being disabled. Anyway, I'm not super smart, but I happen to be a tutor. So during the 1985-86 years, I was a tutor for the basketball team, and this is the basketball team who won the championship. Jeff Hall was the Caucasian player, and then the rest were the others, and a phenomenal team, and they were so talented, and they won and stuff. And anyway, anyway, I've always been really involved with men's basketball, and I've been to Final Four probably 5 or 8 times, or it's been decades, but I used to go pretty often. Seemed to always be in New Orleans or San Antonio, usually New Orleans. But I went to quite a few and stuff, and road trips and all that stuff. But anyway, recently it's only been female basketball, but I ultimately added the men's basketball back. But anyway, I always really knew about the March Madness. I wouldn't even notice basketball until, oh no, it's Selection Sunday. How did that sneak up on me? Oh no, it's and then they would release March Madness, and I'm like, okay, I got to watch this. And so I would watch the 4 first games, and then the 32 games, and then the 16, and then the 8, and then the 4. And toward the end, when it was getting down to 8 and 4 and 2 games, I was depressed. I was like, I don't like the favorites. I like the underdogs. I like the upsets and all that stuff. And they didn't have many this year. But anyway, this year, the season was coming to the end. And I'm like, I'm going to have to learn about conferences. And I never knew it. The Louisville Cardinals were in the Metro and Big East, and then after a while, they, every other year they're in a new, not Louisville Cardinals, but everybody was in a new series, a new. I don't understand. It's all about money, I'm sure, but what about playing the same teams every year? And I don't get it. But there's a lot of changes for the conference. But anyway, that's not what I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn about the conference tournaments, and there's 31 conferences for men, and there's 31 conferences for women. So that's 62 tournaments that I had to learn on the fly quickly. And it was, I forget, I had all the specific details, but I think it was over 14 or 15 days. I think over 15 days, there were 62 tournaments. And some were 8 teams down to 4, 2, 1, and some were, odd numbers like 13 teams or 11 teams. And so there had a couple of teams that had a bye the first round and stuff. But I was like, okay, I'm going to learn this. On the fly, every day I was printing up, the 3 new tournaments that were starting that day. So anyway, that was overwhelming. The conference tournaments was overwhelming, but I did it fairly successfully, and I think I watched every single game, and It was all over the place. Not all of them were on national TV or even regional TV or, but anyway, so I did that. And then March Madness started. And, of course, I love the first 4 games. And then almost immediately, I don't like, and this is true with everything. This is truth with motorsports. And, I didn't like Jimmy Johnson when he dominated. And I didn't like Lewis Hamilton when he dominated. And I don't like dynasties. I don't like dominations. I kind of think of them as bullies. They bully. And I like it to be not no parity or what parity or no parity. I always forget which is the one I like, but I like them to be equal. I like it to be a competitive, fair, fairly even year. And you can't have that, in any sport. You get a group of 5 people and one's going to rise to the top or two's going to rise to the top, or, you can probably pretty quickly, you can rank the 5 teams or drivers or players or, pretty quickly, who's the best. But at least they can be close or competitive or, so anyway, it almost seemed immediately that there weren't many upsets in March Madness. And there's always a ton of upsets in the first few rounds. And I think there's like 3 or 5 or whatever, but not like a 15 beating a 2 or a 14 beating a 3 or anything like that. And so it was weird. And then as the rounds went on, it appeared, this is not scientific, but I think it's pretty accurate. As the rounds went on, there was less and less there was less and less upsets. It just didn't happen. So sorry, I need to soothe my throat because I'm talking so much. I was like, well, that's gonna suck. And sure as poop for the men, the final 4 were all 4 number 1 teams, and that was the second time that's ever happened. And the last time was 2008 or something. So I'm like, oh golly. And the women, I really did want to follow the women more. But with me, I can confuse and merge together. And I was watching all the games, and they were like every other day, or there was plenty of days where there was 16 games, 8 men, 8 women. So I kind of merged together all the results in my head. But I do believe, do not quote me on this, but I think for the women's Final Four, I think it was 3 number 1s and a number 2. And I think UConn, I'm pretty sure UConn was a number 2. But in reality, they were the favorite, even though they were number 2. And I think the other 3 were 1s. I might be wrong on that, but I think they were all. So, I didn't hear any quotes about that. Like, that hasn't happened for 20 years. Or, I didn't hear any of that kind of stuff. But I'm sure it's pretty rare. There's usually always a number 6. And there's usually not specifically a number 6, but something as, low or high. It's kind of like air conditioning. If you turn an air conditioner up, does it get cooler or hotter? And so I don't know if higher seed means a 16 seed or if higher seed means a number 1 seed. I get confused on that. But anyway, there's always a 4 seed, 5 seed, 6 seed in the Final Four, and I love that. Anyway, it didn't happen this year. So, anyway, I should probably test these things. So, anyway, all the basketball ended, and then I tried to figure out what college sports I could follow. And, I don't have any interest in football and lacrosse and soccer and probably not volleyball. And I swam for 5 years in college, and so I water poloed also in high school, college, AAU, all those years. So I wanted to follow them, and I think it's off season or whatever, but I got a list of all the college sports, and there's like 19 women's sport, or 19 men's sports and 21 women's sports, or something like that. But as I dug down deeper, there's a number of schools. So basketball has 380 schools, and water polo has 9 schools. So the schedule is so much more, it doesn't exist. You try to get all the matches, I think they're called matches, in a week, and there's like 3 matches in a week, if that's a current week. I haven't found a match yet in the last few weeks. I think it's off season. I'm still doing my research. But, and then I usually prefer college over professional, but, I really like the WNBA, which is going to start, this Monday, April 14th, Monday is draft night, and I'm going to be completely involved with that. I kind of missed it last year, and started getting involved with WNBA like the first week of June or so, and it starts in May. So I missed the first few weeks and draft, but anyway, this year I'm going to do everything. So draft is the 14th, and then preseason starts May 2nd, and then season starts May 16th. Both of those are Friday. And I will have all the channels again. So I want to, and preseason isn't, I haven't figured it out. I think I just found out last night that most all preseason games will be on WNBA League Pass, which I had last year starting in June. So I think I still have it for a couple more months. And I'll renew it, so I have it for the whole year. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So WNBA will probably be my main thrust shortly. That's Monday. But college basketball stopped a week or so ago, and I started researching all college sports that I could probably track on ESPN or TV or something like that, and to replace my huge void now. And then I also I wanted to do all professional sports, and I tried to get as comprehensive of a list as possible, and some were pretty, like surfing and skateboarding, and not tiddlywinks, but there was, there was probably 35 sports or something, and I just don't like baseball and football and soccer, and I don't like professional basketball for men. So it's going to be kind of tricky for me. But anyway, in the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to divorce NASCAR for the last several years, and it's been a very messy divorce. I keep going back for more, and then say I'm breaking up, and then I go back for more, and then I'm breaking up. But this year it feels pretty, I did Daytona, and then I did the second race, and then, COTA, and, there were some pretty special races. Oh, Atlanta, I think, was second. So it's still a super speedway. There was a lot of unique aspects of the races. And then after COTA, I was like, I hope I don't come up with an excuse every week. But after COTA, it kind of dropped off. But I still continue following Formula E, Formula 1, IndyCar, a little IMSA, a real little NHRA. I used to do a lot of SCCA. I used to travel the country to most of their events, but that's not going anymore for me. So anyway, so this was just a weird week. As I was starting to get ready for the week, I was like, wow, Formula E, wow, Formula 1. And, it just kept adding up. And for me, if I don't start organizing all that stuff, I get really overwhelmed. And it ended up, there's 9 events this weekend. There's Formula E, there's Formula 1, there's MotoGP, there's IndyCar and IMSA together at Long Beach. Supercars are at Taupo, Taupo, Taupo. NASCAR, who I try to ignore, but they got a triple header in Bristol. Bristol used to be one of my favorite tracks. I don't go anymore. I don't go to any NASCARs anymore. NHRA, and then SCCA, I had it on a schedule, and then I couldn't find a schedule, but I mistakenly looked at 2024. And then just this morning, I looked at 2025, and I'm like, oh, it is this weekend. So they're at WWT Racing in the St. Louis area. I forget who now goes the WWT Raceway, but there was one or two NASCAR series, and I think IndyCar. And anyway, pretty popular track, and so that's where SCCA is this weekend. So anyway, I'll probably go through some of the schedules. We're already at 30 minutes, so maybe I'll try to go through these as quickly as I can. Let's see here. So, present or invite. Present. Share screen. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's. Oh, that was the wrong schedule. How'd that happen? Okay, I'm not on screen, but I'm going to go to the other screen. Sorry. Okay. So can you all see that? Okay, yeah, y'all can see that. So, okay, ABB, Formula E, FIA World Championship. Next race is in 6 hours, it says, for the Miami E-Prix. Starts in 6 hours, 56 minutes. There's the weekend schedule. It is at Homestead, Miami, the NASCAR track, but they do the road course inner. It's got like 14 turns instead of the 4 turns. Anyway, weekend schedule. These are all local time for Eastern Standard Time. Free practice 1 is the 11th at 4:30 to 5:25 p.m. Free practice, and then the next 3 events are tomorrow, Saturday. So free practice 2 is Saturday the 12th, 7:30 to 8:25 in the morning. Qualifying is Saturday the 12th, 9:40 to 11:03 a.m. And the race is Saturday the 12th from 2:05 to 3 p.m. And I'm not even going to go over the channels. They're not easy to. Roku is probably one of the best places to find things, but their YouTube channels, I'm not going to go. It's a pain in the ass. The race is very hard to find live. The first 2 are pretty easy, YouTube kind of stuff. Qualifying sucks. That has to be Roku too, but I have to do it through my iPhone and do a mirror image on my TV. It's not fun. So, okay, let's exit full screen. Remove. Okay. Now, okay, this is Formula 1. Full screen layout. Okay, yeah, I don't know if y'all can read that and stuff, but okay, this is Formula 1. It's at Bahrain International Circuit in Bahrain. These are my times for all the events. So there's two events today. One's already over, one just finished, and the other is just starting at 11. And then two tomorrow and one Sunday. So today, April 11th, Friday, the first practice was, I think, 7:30 to 8:30. The second practice is coming up 11 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time. And then practice 3 is tomorrow, 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Qualifying is Saturday the 12th, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And then the race is at 11 a.m. on the 13th Sunday. The show usually starts an hour and a half before, so that's 9:30 a.m. to 10:55 for pre-show, and then 10:55 to the 11 to 1 p.m. max, 2 hours max, for the race. So that's that. Okay, so what do we got? So that's 2. Let's do MotoGP. That's going to be a little tricky, but I'll try to, get through it. So I'm going to go off screen so you can see it a little better. That's full screen layout. I can see your screen, but you can't see me. Sorry about that. Okay, so MotoGP, I'm still learning about it, so don't quote me on many of these things. Where's my thing? I think most MotoGP weekends are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday is, stuff I don't understand. Thursday is a gear up and then a pre-event press conference. I would love to watch every single press conference for every single series, but they're never usually live or accessible, or I don't figure them out. Friday, I don't think there's anything that's on TV. Free practice and practices are today. That is my time. So today went from 7 a.m., which is finished, to 2 p.m. Eastern Time, all the different events. Saturday starts at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time, but most of these are not, you have to buy MotoGP TV, or I don't know what it's called, something like that. So there's a lot of qualifying stuff. Okay, so for Saturday the 12th, and this is Moto 3, Moto 2, MotoGP. But free practice 2, qualifying NR, I don't know what that means. Number. Qualifying number 1, 2, qualifying number 1, 2. I guess that's MotoGP, Moto 3, Moto 2. And then there's a TSOT, I don't know how to say that word. TSOT sprint. I don't know if MotoGP has a sprint every weekend, but I think they do. I think the last 3 races I've seen a sprint. And the sprint is far easier to find live on TV somewhere, even in the United States, than the race. It's hard to find the race live. The sprint is usually on FS1, sometimes FS2. The race is usually on FS2, occasionally live, not always live, and sometimes it's on FS1 at 3 in the morning, local time, our time. So it's, it's inaccessible. Anyway, so the sprint is from 1 to 1:45 tomorrow. So I would suggest you catching that if you like MotoGP. And the sprint's like, I'm still learning about MotoGP, and I think motorcycles are intense. I think motorcycles are intense. It's a little too intense for me. It's I think motor I've had some addictive events in my life. Anyway, I've always said if I owned a motorcycle, I'd be dead. But I've never driven a motorcycle, and I've ridden on, 2 or 3 or 4 of them, but I'd be dead. But anyway, for NASCAR and IndyCar and so many things. By the way, feel free to let me know where you're watching from, and feel free to make a comment or any questions about any of the. If you know about MotoGP, please let me know, because I don't know a whole bunch about it. But anyway, so for NASCAR and IndyCar and a few, I forget I used to know the exact wording, and I forget things within seconds. So I think it's, if your car hits the wall, you must go to the medical center and get cleared. And they're adamant about that. As soon as your car spins around and stops, and you're in the middle of the track and you're trying to get off the track, so you're not supposed to get out of your car, but you got to get off the track. But as soon as they get off the track, it's like, okay, you have to go right now, this second. And for concussions and stuff like that. Well, anyway, I don't know if you've ever watched MotoGP, and I'm still learning. Maybe things happen behind the scene, and I'm just making up numbers. I'm just making up numbers, but it appears that during every sprint or every race, I'm just making up numbers, I would say maybe 3 motorcycles, hit the ground and they spin out and stuff. So they're going 180 miles per hour. And they're going around a corner, and then their motorcycle touches the ground. So they immediately separate from the motorcycle. I don't think they try to, but I think that's the way they're skeletal. I don't know if you've ever seen their outfit that they're wearing, but it's skeletal. They can't stand up straight because it's supposed to make them safe or whatever. It's some eco-skeletal something, whatever. So, anyway, they are sliding on the ground, on the asphalt at 180 miles an hour, and they skid for hundreds of yards. And sometimes they're tumbling, and it just looks amazing. It's just holy. I can't believe it. Hello, everybody. By the way, hello. Feel free to make a comment, say hello. Let me know what platform you're watching me from. That would be great. I'd love that. So anyway, they slide across the thing. And immediately, and there's I don't know if they're called marshals. I don't know if they're called marshals in MotoGP, but there's always a group of helpers around any motorcycle that hits the ground, and the motorcyclist catches up to their bike, which could be 50 yards away or 100 yards away, and tries to set it up, but I guess they're pretty heavy, and sits on it, and then goes push. So these people are pushing him for him to jumpstart his motorcycle to get back on the track. And and they usually always get back out onto the track. So I don't ever hear about, so they went to the medical center later, and this is what I don't get it. There's no car to protect them. They're by themselves on the ground going 180 miles an hour, and they just want to, I don't get it. I don't get it. They must have some different medical standards than Formula One and NASCAR and stuff. But it can't be too different. Safety always has to be number one, but they disguise it here. So anyway, such is life. That's the thing. Let me go back to let's go back to full screen. So full screen layout, and then I'll go back to Sunday. Not back to. Let's go to Sunday. So this is Sunday. Sunday. Gosh darn it. Okay, so this is the entire Sunday. So it starts at 8:40 a.m. my time, and it ends at 3:30 p.m. my time. But there's a MotoGP warm-up, MotoGP talk show, and then 3 races. Moto3, Moto2, MotoGP. 16 laps, 18 laps, 22 laps, the 3 races. And then after the MotoGP, there's an after the flag, whatever that is, some show or something. 35-minute show. And then Sunday press conference. I'd love to do all that, but I don't. I rarely spend much time after. For some reason, I don't really care who wins a race, and as soon as the event's over, I'm either done with that race, or I'm starting to look at the next race, or points, or I'm looking at something else. I don't usually care who wins, so I don't really. I like press conferences dealing with the previous week's, stuff that happened. So, okay, that's that. Let's go back to exit full, remove, stop screen. Okay, so whoo, that was a long time on that. I might just get to IndyCar. That might be the only, maybe supercars, but maybe just IMSA car. Qualifying starts in 10 minutes. That's wrong. I don't know what that means. Oh, that might be F2. That might be F2. I don't get it. I don't know. So let's see here. Present. Share screen. Share screen. So I've been following IndyCar for quite a few years, and I've been following their website for quite a few years, and their website is so effing confusing. There's a schedule, and then there's a TV schedule, and then there's a weekend schedule, and none of them seems to be comprehensive, and none of them seem to duplicate the information from one of the other schedules. It's the weirdest thing in the world. I don't get it. Oh, I have the wrong thing. Weekend schedule. Let's go to that. Okay, let's full stage. Oh, no. Let's go to exit full stage. Remove. Stop screen. Present. Share screen. Share screen. Weekend schedule? Is that it? There it is. How'd that get to the top? Okay, let me see what I got here. So this is one of the schedules. I don't get it. Weekend schedule, I think it's all the TV, but like I said, sorry, it's not super clear. So this is the 50th Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, weekend schedule. Friday, April 11th, the IndyCar Series, 3 p.m. FS1. Oh, I'm sorry, Practice 1, FS1, 3 p.m. And then Saturday, on Saturday, April 12th, there's 2 events. Practice 2, 8:30 a.m., FS1. And this is all on Sirius XM 218. Second event is qualifications, 11:30 a.m., FS2. And then on Sunday, April 13th, the warm-up at 9 a.m., FS1. And then the actual Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, which is 90 laps. It starts on Fox channel at 1:30, but green flag is 1:47. Boy, they don't usually put that. Oh my golly. Are they actually doing things the right way? So let's see here. Let's exit, remove, stop, present, share screen, share screen. IMSA is with my description for IndyCar, it's about the same for IMSA. I've been following it for a few years. I've been following the website for a few years. There seems to be multiple schedules of broadcast and non-broadcast. They don't seem to be comprehensive. I don't get it. So here is broadcast. It says broadcast schedule, but I always, when I compare it to another schedule, there's always something missing. I don't get it. So anyway, I think the main event is Saturday the 12th. So I think there's only 2 days. So it shows Friday, April 11th. And all three of the events on Friday, it's the same event, but they're all the same time, 8:05 to 8:50, 8:05 to 8:50, 45 minutes. And the choices are Peacock, INDvCHI TV, which you have to buy, or YouTube, which I don't think it's free. But anyway, I haven't figured out how to see. I used to have Peacock, and then it wasn't worth it, so I stopped. And then Saturday the 12th, these are 4 events, 2 of them exact same, 2 of them exact same, and they're all pretty similar, but not exactly the same. So from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., the USA has the Grand Prix. And then Peacock also has it from 5 to 7. And in the others, there's 5 to 6:45. I assume the checkered flag is at 6:45 or something. And so that's INDvCHI TV. Again, you have to pay for. And then YouTube, which is usually free, but somehow you have to pay for that too. So anyway, that's INDvCHI. Let's go back here. So we have supercars, and that will be tricky as all get out. I won't understand that, but I'll try. Let's try this. Supercars. My history of supercars is I think you used to be able to watch it somehow. But yeah, my history with supercars is NASCAR. Marcus Ambrose got involved with NASCAR. I have no idea how long ago. I have no idea, but I would guess 10, 12, 14 years ago, and he stayed for 4 or 5 or 6 years, and I think he only won 1 race, and he expected to do a lot better. He was in a supercar, and I think he won 2 championships or 3 championships, or he was pretty dominant during his time at supercars, and he didn't do very well in NASCAR, and he ended up leaving NASCAR after 4, 5, 6 years. He gave it a shot, and he quit motorsports back when this was not really a popular or common thing. He quit motorsports because of his family and his wife and his kids, and he wanted to spend more time with them. And that just, people, everybody did what Dale Sr. did. He ignored his family. He abused his children. He just ignored them. So, anyway, Ambrose was wonderful. I met him a couple times. I saw him at one race, and he was so frustrated. He was so freaking frustrated. And he almost got, I forget if it's the pole or the checkered flag, but he just missed and he skidded out or something. And I really was trying to cheer him up, and he was coming out, and I was like, "Oh, Ambrose, good job. You were so close." Or I forget what I actually said, but I said something like, "You were so close." And he was really frustrated, but he laughed and he kind of, came out of his, fog. And I'm like, "No, seriously, you were really close. I love you," and then he went back into his fog. But, I broke it for a little bit, anyway, he was super cool. So anyway, I started trying to follow supercars because of him. And I think back then you could sporadically watch supercars either on YouTube or somehow I was able to watch it live or some of it or stuff. Now everything's to be behind a paywall, or you have to pay for it, or it's, it's always INDvCHI TV, IndyCar TV, Supercars TV. MotoGP TV, so I don't like that. I'm cheap and I'm resourceful and I'm broke and I have no money and I like to get things as inexpensively as possible. I don't intentionally try to steal things, but I'm just, anyway. So this is Supercar schedule. It's going to be very confusing. There's a whole bunch of practices and qualifications, and there's 3 races. So there's 3 sets of all those things. So it's a little confusing, but I'll see if I can understand it and explain it to you. So let's go to full screen layout. And this is supercars. Okay, so now I'm looking at my other screen, but you can't see me, but I'm looking up. So the track schedule has Thursday, April 10th, Friday the 11th, Saturday the 12th. And that is my time. So I guess it doesn't even show Sunday because, you know, I think it's 16 hours ahead. So the last event on Saturday starts at 11:05 p.m. right before midnight. I think it ends at 1 a.m. So the last event ends at 1 a.m. on Sunday. That's, I guess, why they don't. They're just showing starting times, so they only show Saturday. Do you know what I mean? So it's really late afternoon on Sunday that it ends in New Zealand, but on this schedule, it just shows that it started at 11 p.m. Anyway, so just to go over just mundane stuff, Thursday, April 10th, public gates open, safety car course tours and pit lane walk. Practice 1, Super V8, Practice 1, Toyota 86, Practice, Central Muscle Cars. They always do a bunch of, what's that called? Supportive, I can't think of the word, but the complimentary series. Practice 1, Repco Supercars Championship. I thought there's just a couple of things. Practice 2, Super V8s, entertainment, on-track activity. Practice 2, Toyota 86, qualifying Central Muscle Cars. Practice 2, Supercars. Wow, that keeps going. Qualifying Super 8, qualifying Toyota 86. Then on to Friday. You probably don't care about this, but I'm just trying to do the whole thing. So today, so for Friday, April 11th, today, it started at 12:10 a.m., just after midnight. Oh, no, it finished. It looks like it fit. No. Looks like it started at 12:10 a.m., just after midnight, but it's already finished. And the next thing is 4:30 p.m., which is whatever, 6.5 hours from now. So anyway, same thing, public gate. Oh, I'll be right back. Hey.
Hi, Mr. Hart. How are you?
Good, thanks. You can call me Joe. That's fine. But how are you? Thank you so much for this.
Oh, no worries. And I hope ringing and knocking on the door is what you wanted there. Right?
Exactly. Thank you for reading the note and doing what it says.
No worries. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Right. I'm inconsistent too, but sometimes I'm asleep and whatever. But
yeah. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. What's it out like now? Is it?
It's
There was a little snow, wasn't there?
Yes. Nothing's coming down now. It's just
Really? Oh wow.
So it's just
Overcast.
yeah. It's not good. It's a mess.
I bet. Well, thank you very much.
No worries.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to put this in the fridge. I'll be back. $19.79, and that's the only Mr. Hart that I know. I don't know of Mr. Hart. Hello, I'm back. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I always forgot. I didn't think about it until right now that I don't get many. I don't get many comments, but I guess occasionally that when I have stepped away and I forgot to put up a ticker to explain what was going on, usually that's when you get the comments of where the hell are you, and so I was like, hey, maybe I should step away more often, and then I'll get comments. Anyway, it wasn't intentional. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so today there's a race 1 Super V8s, a qualifying. They're qualifying. They call them. Oh, that's qualifying for race 8. So for the supercars, the qualifying for race 8 is at 6:25 p.m. For 30 minutes today. Qualifying for race 9 is at 7:05 for 30 minutes. And then Jet Car Fire Show. And then race 1 for 86 and race 8. So the first official race for supercars is today at 8:50 p.m. 8:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have no idea where to see it live. It's not just you. I don't think you can just go to YouTube and search for live and find it, but you might. Good luck. Check Car Fire Show again. Race 2 Super V8s. Race 2 Central Muscle Cars. And on to Saturday. So for Saturday, April 12th, the third. Can you see my arrow? Where's my cursor? Can you see my cursor? It's over here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but I'm on the third column there. That's the Saturday. Saturday for my time and Sunday for their events. So Saturday the 12th, tomorrow at 12:05 a.m., which would be, what is that? 14 hours from now. 14 hours from now, there'll be race 9 for supercars. And then 4 p.m. public gates open. So it is really the night before. That is kind of strange. Then gates open, safety car, all that stuff. Ooh. Okay. So we have race 2, Toyota 86, race 3, Central Muscle Cars, Supercars, the qualifying for race 10. So the qualifying for the third and final race for Supercars is after the other 2 races. So you qualify for 8 and 9, and then you race 8 and 9, and then you qualify for 10. I don't know why they do that, but I'm sure it's something. It's something to get the numbers, and that's kind of wild. Anyway, qualifying is at 6:35 p.m. Saturday. It says watch live on, and then it shows nothing. But race 3, Toyota 86, Drivers Parade. Race 3, Super V8. Boost Mobile, TTSO. Oh, that's Supercars. Race 10. 8:50 p.m. for 45 minutes, Saturday night. And I'm sure I can't watch that live, but I'm going to try to. Race 4, Central Muscle Cars, and then race 10. Wait, what the hell is that? Boost Mobile TTSO. I don't know what that is. That's at 8:50. That's not the race. Sorry. The final event, which is the final race, race 10 for supercars, is at 11:05 p.m. for 61 laps. Oh my goodness. So let's see here. Let's go back here. Let's go exit full, and then remove, and then stop screen. I guess I'll just keep going since I'm here. There's Bob. Where was that? Okay, I'm going to go full screen so you can maybe see it better. Okay, this is Bob Pockrass's X account, and he's phenomenal. He has so much information, and he's impeccable and meticulous and methodical, and I don't want to say he's always right, but boy, is he almost always right. As much as a human can be always right, he is always right. So I'm going to go up. So this is for Bristow, and it lists today, Saturday, and anyway, can you see all that? So Bristow, and it's all listed for Eastern Standard Time, which is what Bristow is. Today, 3:35 p.m., FS2, truck practice and qualification. 7:50 p.m., FS1, truck green flag, 65, 120 laps, 3 sets. National Weather Service, 50, 60% rain. Day, 15% night. So not much during the night, but they probably won't get the practice in with all that rain. Anyway, Saturday, 11:30, CW app, which is pretty cool. I'm learning how to use apps. That's pretty cool. Xfinity practice and qualifying. 2 p.m., Prime Video, Cup practice and qualifying. I generally always love Cup qualifying. That's probably my favorite event for the entire weekend. And then this is the big problem with CW. 5:10 CW Xfinity Green, 85, 130 laps, 4 sets, 50s, 5% rain. And they just don't. It says 5:10 CW, but not all CWs show it in all markets. And when they don't show it, they show absurd things like bowling and just absurd things, badminton, and just absurd things. And every week people scream at them, and every week CW_sports say, "Oh no, we're going to get better at it." Yeah, we're trying to do all the markets, and they don't, and they lie. And anyway, whatever. I know it's their first year, but they're effing up really, really big time. CW is effing up, and I guess the solution, which I don't quite understand, or it's not something I embrace yet, but I guess the solution, if they do everything on the app, no matter where anything is, like CW or FS1 or whatever, wherever something is ultimately on a TV network channel, it's also on the CW app, so that the markets that don't get it, everybody can go to the app and watch it live. So they haven't done that yet. It's quite exclusive. When you go to the app, it says, this is only shown on the CW actual, or, whatever, non-app. Anyway, okay, enough about CW. Sunday, 1:30 p.m., FS1, NASCAR race day. And then 3:11 p.m. is the green flag for the Cup. 125, 250, 10 sets of tires. Holy poop. 60s and 5%. So that's that. He also has, where is this? I'm going to see if there is IndyCar is real easy to understand. And I've already gone over it, but he might do the IMSA and IndyCar together, because he kind of does. Okay, so this is Bob Pockrass for IndyCar. We've already done this, but he is great at organizing it and summarizing it and putting the TV channel and everything. Okay, so IndyCar, Long Beach, Eastern Time. That's converted to our time. Long Beach, of course, is in California, so that's Pacific, 3 hours behind. But we don't care about that. This is all converted to Eastern Time. So today, 6:05, I'm sure that's p.m., FS1 practice for IndyCar. Saturday, 11:30 a.m., FS1 practice. 2:35 p.m., FS2 qualifying. Sunday, 12:02, FS1 warm-up. 4:30 Fox pre-race. 4:52 Fox green flag 90 laps. Tires 6 sets. Primary for weekend 4 sets. Oh, okay, tires 6 sets of primary for the weekend, 4 sets of alternatives. And in the IMSA race, he just puts this as an additional, is 4:05 p.m. Saturday on USA Network, the day before. And then I guess this is for the race on Sunday. National Weather Service, 60s, 5% rain. He is a rock star. I love him. He's trying to branch out to IndyCar because I guess Fox is starting to branch out to IndyCar or whatever. He's embracing it and he's doing really well. In my eyes, he will always be known as NASCAR, but he does the IndyCar really well too. He the first couple of interviews in IndyCar, he asked some pretty controversial. After the first win, I may not have the details, but I think Award won the first one, or Palou. I always mix up the two newcomers. They're not new, but they both started about the same time, 5 years ago or 6 years ago or 4 years ago. And they kind of look alike. Now, I guess they're night and day. Alex Palou and Patricio Pato Award. I guess they're night and day. One's meticulous and methodical and doesn't have an ounce of emotion, and he's calculated, and the other one is, wow, he's off the hook, and I've yet to figure out who's who. I'm sure all of y'all know by now, but I have no idea. But anyway, whoever won the first race this year, I think won the championship last year. And so during the media time, Joseph Newgarden was on stage, and I think he won. Don't quote me on this, but I think Newgarden won 2 years ago, I think. So Bob Pockris, who, I'm sure he's always known about IndyCar, but not in depth. So he is kind of new to the world. So after one race, and I don't know how many races they certainly don't have 36 races like NASCAR. I think they have 21 or 25, or I don't know. They have less. I think it's less than that. I think it's high teens, 17, 18 races, whatever. They don't have as many races. But after the first race, Steve said, so will you have it in you? Is there anything in your repertoire that you'll be able to contest for the championship against whoever just won the first race? And boy, did Joseph Newgarden get upset. He was calm, but he was upset. And he said, it's only been one race. He's not that great. He's not that unreachable. And yes, we're within reach. Now, I do think after 2 or 3 races, I think 3 are done. Maybe only 2 races are done. But I think now he's even further ahead. And Newgarden, don't quote me, I have no idea what rank he is, but I think he's even further behind. So Bob could actually ask the question every race. But they would probably ban him. They would never ban Bob because Bob's a superstar. But because he doesn't ask gotcha questions, he asks pertinent questions. So anyway, he did that. He got in trouble or whatever. Not in trouble. So what do we got? NHRA. I'll try to. What do we got? 114. Oh my gosh! Darn it! How come this doesn't show when I want it to show? Oh my golly. Okay, this is going to be too busy to go over, but I don't think I wanted that. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, Las Vegas, 4 Wide Nationals. Schedule 5:11. This is in Las Vegas, so it's Pacific time. These are all local Pacific times. So I don't know when anything's on TV, so I doubt if I'm going to convert it to Eastern time. So Friday, April 11th starts at 8, ends at 4:30 p.m. Saturday, April 12th starts at 8, ends at 3:35 p.m. Sunday, April 13th starts at 9:30 a.m., goes to 12 p.m. That's the start of the last event. So let's go over the 4 events on Sunday. 9:30 a.m. Sportsman Eliminations, 10:10 a.m. Top Alcohol Eliminations, Round 1. 11 a.m. Seal Master Track Walk and Driver Introduction starting line. And then 12 p.m. NHRA Mission Foods Drag Racing Series Eliminations begin. And I think I don't really know, but I think that's a 6-hour event. I think that's all the finals for the funny cars and the top alcohols and just all the top series, the motorcycles. I think all the big ones. So that's that. I'm going to show the NCAA. I meant FCCA. Majors. Is that it? 2025. So SCCA is like a completely different animal. There was a time there, not long, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, where I spent a fair amount of time with SCCA. So I'm going to try to do a quick summary, but nothing I do is quick, as y'all know. So this is SCCA, Sports Car Club of America. This is the 2025 Majors selection. This is their main event calendar, but they do a lot of things. The other major event is where is it? The 2025 Hoosier Super Tour schedule. Some things are overlapping here. Oh, and it'll also highlight that it's a Super Tour. See this purple? Denotes Hoosier Super Tour event. So some are not duplicate. Some are, some they both have the same event, and some they both don't have the same event. Anyway, there's 6 regions. I live in the Northeast. Southeast is mostly NASCAR, so that's probably pretty big with all motorsports. And then Southern, Mid-States, Northern, and West are the 6. And they all try to do 6 events per year. And I guess it's regional. This is kind of in chronological order as far as their first event goes, I think. So Southeast Conference starts January 3rd. Isn't that amazing? Southern Conference starts January 18th. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've never seen 9 events for Southeast. That's a ton. It's usually 6 or 7. I don't know what happened. Southern, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Western, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's typical. So that's January 19th, 18th, January 18th. And then they jump. Northeast, of course, is colder, so it starts later. So Northeast, kind of where I'm at. It starts April 5th. That's a pretty big jump. January to April. That's 3 months later for similar conference, similar events for different conferences. Watkins Glen is one of the Hoosier Super Tour because it's got the purple. But, they do the Virginia International Raceway, which I did multiple times. Summit, I haven't done that. Pittsburgh, I did that a couple times. Watkins Glen, I've done that dozens. New Jersey, nope. Thompson, yes. And then Mid-States, which is the event this weekend, its first event, which is the April 12th through 13th, Worldwide Technology Raceway, St. Louis region, Madison, Illinois, all majors classes. So that's this weekend. And then Northern, May 3rd, holy shit, 4 months later is their first thing for Northern. So that's pretty wild. So anyway, that's the 9 main events that I had. And you know, back when I tracked, you know, I used to track, you know, I started with NASCAR. Then I had IndyCar. And then because I'm OCD, I started adding this and this and this and this. Then I started tracking a bunch of them. And I ended up tracking, I think it was 179 motorsports series, with NASCAR being one, and IndyCar being one. And so I did that. So anyway, on any given week, even year round, but certainly on these primary weekends, you know, there's 25, 30 events. So I'm only giving you 9, but there's others. Oh, I wanted to get that guy on my screen of who prompted me for some of this stuff. Anyway, let's see here. So let's okay, so that's okay. Anyway, it's an hour, 22 minutes and 1 second. So I definitely talked more than I wanted to, and I'm sure I'll still take many minutes to say goodbye, but I hope not. So anyway, I'm going to head out. For this weekend, I'm going to try to focus on as many of those TV network channels that I can for all those events, as many of them as I can. Formula One, I'll see everything. FormulaE, I'll see everything if it's available. I usually can crack Roku, but I can't always crack Roku. It seems inconsistently available. And then MotoGP, only the 2 events, the sprint and the race if it's live. If not, I'll watch it at 3 a.m. when it's recorded 10 hours later. IndyCar, everything. IMSA, probably everything. Supercar, I'd love to watch anything, but I don't think I can. I don't think any of that is available to the North America part of the world. I'll probably watch most of the NASCAR, but that's an afterthought. NHRA, it's too loud. It's too irritating. I won't watch any of that. And then again, the TV schedule is, I don't think anything's live. Yeah, maybe the last event's live. But the recorded ones, they're off, and they're this 30 minutes and then another 30 minutes and then another 30 minutes. It's weird. SCCA, nothing's on TV, of course. I could probably see something live of that on YouTube Live or something. But anyway, that's about it. I appreciate all my viewers. Thank you so much. And I don't know if I'm going to get back into it. I would probably get back into it for WNBA, which, like I said, this coming Monday, April 14th at 7:30 p.m. on ESPN is the draft. I missed last year, so I'm excited about this. I know all the current rosters. I know the order the teams are going to pick. I know most of the prospects that they're going to pick. And, so I'm pretty informed. I'm going to probably tweet it, or, my X account will probably cover it. I might do something live, but I doubt it. I think that'll be too overwhelming. I might say, hey, I'm going to do, this, I'm going to cover the event on X and you can watch. I might do something like that. So it might be just passive. I might be like, and I don't think I'll be able to show anything. Certainly not the ESPN, but maybe if there's a website. Anyway, I might be able to show something as the first choice, the second choice, the first pick, the second pick, that kind of stuff. So anyway, and then preseason, who I hope to catch every single game on TV, but I don't know where it's going to be on TV. I think it's WNBA League Pass, which I currently have until June, I think. I think no matter when you buy it, you get it for a calendar year, I think. You get it for 365 days. So I think I bought it June 10th. I think it goes until June 9th, not till the end of year last year. I just tried it, and I was able to watch some recorded game. So it looks like I have it now. I don't know what happens. Like on the first preseason game, if I don't have access to that, then I will immediately buy it, and then I'll have it for the year. And then that will be a normal yearly, I think it's weird to buy it June 10th and pay full price, but don't get it till June 9th. I mean, don't get it for a year till June 9th. I think I ought to. I mean, I still have to buy it again because it stops right at the beginning of the year. But anyway, so June 2nd, first preseason, June 16th, first full season. And then I'll be off and running, watching every game and covering that all. I hope to start, continue going back to their live games. I hope to be associated with someone as a media credentialed entity. I have some luck, but not a bunch of luck, to be a disabled, not employed, independent entity. I've had some luck, but it's weird. All these, everybody's cut the cable channel, and there's all these, you can use an app to watch something. There's all this stuff, but they still want someone associated with ESPN or ABC or NBC. I don't get why that's not the way the world is these days. But anyway, I hope to be involved with someone. So anyway, that's it. Thank you again. I might be back Monday for the draft. I have no idea. I will definitely be covering it on as many of my platforms as I can do. I don't know about StreamYard. So thank you very much, and I will talk to you later. Okay. Where is my stuff? I didn't test out Jesus. So yeah, I have no idea if So I'm just testing random ones. But let's see here. Should have done this a while ago. I didn't. And they're way outdated. I don't think it just automatically gets disabled. I assume it still works. It doesn't appear to be working, but I'm really impatient, so. Wow, 2023. Look at that. This week. Wow, holy shit. I guess it doesn't work. Night, but needs to be reactivated. Okay, yeah, so yeah, that's 4 minutes. I've done. So what do we got? 10, 28, 29, 29, 29, 31. 29. So yeah, 4 minutes. Okay, goodbye.